Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of the True to Life podcast. I'm super excited. I have a really good friend of mine that I met actually through basketball, through the hoops world. His name is Anirudh, and he's just an amazing person all around. And we're going to get to dive in and just learn about all the things he's a part of. He's a sophomore at UC Davis right now, and he's dove into so many things. After choosing to not go all in and pursue basketball, he's going to dive into it. I'm super excited to have him on and to talk about that. And just to get started, you mind introducing yourself and just talking a little bit about your basketball journey and your transition into life after that so far?
Definitely. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely.
As Nanik mentioned, we met through basketball, and it's been amazing to continue our relationship to life outside of basketball. And I'm really happy and really excited to see where this goes. As he mentioned, my name is Anirudh, but most people call me Ani. I am a second year at UC Davis, double majoring in computational cognitive science and applied statistics. In terms of basketball, I've been playing basketball my entire life. Started playing when I was 2.5, 3 years old. My parents put me in little Santa Clara Community Center rec leagues. I remember I used to have little Spider-Man shoes running around, not knowing how to dribble, but from there, it kind of just grew. Huge credit to my parents. They really let me pursue basketball as much as I could. Ended up moving out here to Pleasanton, where I played at Foothill High School, started on varsity for 3 years in the East Bay Athletic League, which is known as one of the toughest in Northern California. Was a captain both my junior and senior year. Did some great things with them. A lot of fond memories and great friends that I have from my time at Foothill. In terms of travel ball, I played AAU for Peyton's Place, which during my freshman and sophomore years, we played on the Adidas Silver Gauntlet. So had the opportunity to play against some really phenomenal players. Two that come to mind, obviously right now, are the Thompson twins, who are projected to go number 3 and number 5 in next year's draft. So that's an exciting little nugget for my kids 20 years from now. Tell them I played against those guys. So, in terms of recruiting, as Nanik said, I chose not to play in college for a number of reasons that I'm sure we'll get into very shortly, but I did have a number of offers at the Division III level and a couple of interests from Division II schools as well. As I said, we'll get into it, but I did choose to go away from my life as a basketball player, but I'm still actively around basketball a lot, and I'm very grateful for what it's given me in terms of the relationships, but not only relationships, but the lessons I've learned as well.
Absolutely. So, both as a student athlete in high school and then also, in the off season and with summer, still, being busy in the summer and with AAU. So I want you to kind of speak to your experience as a high school student athlete and then also what it was like competing at such a high level with the AAU gauntlet. Just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, this is something that you and I share, being South Asian American, we don't really have much representation when it comes to the space, especially when you're talking about basketball that's played at a high level in high school and AAU ball. So something that I really leaned on during those times was the few beacons of light that did exist in the community. So a guy that I obviously really want to shout out is Gokul Srinivasa Raghavan. He played at Doherty Valley High School, won a league title there, was all league. Went on to play 4 years at Caltech, which not only is one of the best institutions in the world, but also a very strong Division III program in the SCIAC. A guy that I definitely looked up to and someone who definitely took me under his wing when it came to basketball. So he kind of went through it all before I did. He played at Caltech 2016 to 2020. I played high school basketball 2017 to 2021. So I really leaned on him a lot when it came to experience as a South Asian hooper. So, how to handle balancing basketball and family, because we come from similar backgrounds, how to, deal with the stigma that comes with being a South Asian athlete at a high level, and how other coaches and other teams view you and stuff like that. So that was definitely someone I leaned on. And I think outside of him, there are a lot of really great influences on my life when it came to basketball. As I said, Foothill has a rich athletic history, and I was fortunate enough to stay in touch with some guys who had great careers at Foothill and went on to do great things at the college level as well. Some names that come to mind are Seth Cobb, Michael Smith, JT McDermott. These are all guys that either graduated when I was in 7th or 8th grade or seniors when I were freshmen. So guys that I definitely look up to. Gautam Devakar is actually my neighbor, someone else I look up to. Those guys definitely took me under their wing, taught me a lot about the work that it took in the summer to get minutes in the winter, whether it be putting me through workouts at 5 a.m. in the summers or coming back for winter break and getting me in the gym. That definitely taught me a lot about the work ethic it takes to compete at a high level. And then something that I do want to mention when it comes to playing at that level is, you know, me personally, but also the culture that I come from, academics are definitely valued very highly. So that was a non-negotiable for my family and I.
Absolutely.
You know, make sure your grades are high, make sure you're taking care of business in the classroom, and do what you love, right? So again, I was blessed with parents who supported me in whatever I want to do. I was able to take AP classes that I wanted to take with teachers that I wanted to, and find a way to balance that with basketball. And yeah, again, just a lot of really great positive influences on my life that were older than me that I looked up to that helped me in a lot of different ways to compete at a high level.
Awesome. I mean, you mentioned, you know, about culture, South Asian. I kind of want to dive in a little bit on that too more. How me and Ani actually met. We met at the Amazing HQ All-Star Showcase, the first ever. Amazing HQ, I'm gonna hand that off to you to kind of go into a little bit about that. But we met at this event that kind of gathered, what was it, like 40? Was it 30 or 40?
Yep.
Yeah, so about 30, 40 of the top Asian American hoopers in California. Such an amazing event. So many great connections that were made there. That's honestly how we met and how we've stayed in touch after that. And someone that I wanted to kind of bring on the show and just talk about all of that really. And then, yeah, so I wanted you to kind of explain a little bit how you got into working with Amazing HQ. What's the initiative? Like, what are you guys about and what are you guys doing?
Definitely. So just want to preface, Amazing is not mine. We were actually with them today, but Pranav Iyer, a very good friend of mine.
Shout out Pranav for sure.
Pranav's the GOAT, man. Pranav, just some background on him. You know, he played football in high school, a sport that already is very stigmatized when it comes to Asian representation. Did something that you don't really see and went on and played college football at the Division III level at Chapman University. You know, played 4 years there as a defensive back, did great things, went on and got his master's at USC. And, you know, we talked about it with him today, actually, but he had a spark in late 2019 and just thought, you know, when I was younger and I was an athlete, I wish I had a platform so that I could look up to Asian American athletes that did this before me, so I could connect with them and learn from them. And that really drove him to create Amazing HQ. And I heard of it very early on just because I was a high school athlete when Amazing was launched, and I was connected with some guys who were featured early on. And I was fortunate enough to have a connection with Pranav, and we had talks about him potentially coming out to a game that I was playing in so that he'd come get some film on me. But unfortunately, COVID hit, which was very unfortunate. But, you know, something we'll get into, like maintaining relationships. I was able to maintain that relationship with him and officially became a part of Amazing late 2020. Been along for the ride for about 3 years now, and it's been nothing short of amazing, pun intended.
I love it.
You know, a lot of the things that we do now are centered around large-scale events to kind of bring the community together and, as you said, provide a platform for connections. As Nanik mentioned, we met at this all-star event that he took part in last year, and kind of how that came about was we wanted to do something along the lines of, you know, McDonald's or the Jordan Brand Classic for the Asian American community. And I do want to mention, this is not a new idea. There was actually, when I was maybe an 8th grade or freshman, I believe it was NorCal Sports TV or Bay Area Sports TV. I apologize if I get that wrong. They hosted an Asian American All-Star game here in the Bay. And the reason I know that is because Gokul participated in that. So definitely not a novel idea in any means. I don't want to take credit for that on behalf of Amazing. But the idea was bring as many of the top graduating seniors as we could to an event in LA and allow them to grow with each other, meet each other, and cherish the special connection that they had as a group of individuals that were going to be playing in college at a level that not a lot of Asian American athletes really see. So we put together the infrastructure such that we had a camp on the Saturday where we brought in a couple really amazing Division I athletes, including Allison Mura, who plays at USC, Caitlin, who's at Princeton, Vanessa at Duke, Cole Mysick, who is a celebrity and a model, but also a former Division II hooper, and a couple other names as well, big trainers in the area. And they all came out and talked to you guys about what it meant to be an Asian American athlete. And that was honestly my favorite part, is watching you guys soak in all of that knowledge and from their experience and integrating what they said into your own journeys, right? And yeah, I mean, that event was, I mean, again, nothing short of amazing. Like, we had that camp on Saturday with the panel, and then Sunday, obviously, we had the All-Star event. And it was great. We had a bunch of families come out, a bunch of people from the community come out to the Terasaki Budokan in Japantown. Had all you guys playing a little All-Star showcase, got some great film, got some great moments, great connections, as you said, guys that I still talk to today. And yeah, now we're expanding. Obviously, I'll leave the amazing details to Pranav. We got some exciting stuff in terms of events, funding, et cetera, that's on its way. I don't want to divulge into that too much because that's not for me to share. But as far as all-star events go this year, you know, we got LA planned definitely later this year for all our West Coast people. And we're working with an organization up in Toronto. So definitely looking forward to being up in the 6 later this year and turning up with some people in Toronto and along the East Coast. So really excited for the way Amazing's going.
No, absolutely. And the reason why I wanted to touch on this, like the background with Amazing and tying in that Asian American hoops thing all together, is because it kind of translates to your experience as a student athlete, because there is in Asian households such a, you know, I would say almost like a pressure to like achieve academically. Because I know for me, I'm actually half Indian, half white. So, I mean, like I grew up like with my mom who is white, and with my dad who's Indian, who's Punjabi. And I was able to kind of learn, there's always pressure to achieve with grades and stuff. So that was always a priority for me. So I wanted you to speak on what the struggles that you found being a student athlete, even from that Asian American Indian lens, that what were those struggles like as a student athlete with that pressure for school and also wanting to perform on the court?
Yeah. I mean, again, first and foremost, I was very fortunate with how my parents kind of viewed my involvement with basketball. They viewed it more as something that could augment my growth as an individual as opposed to a hindrance on my education. You know, obviously there was that non-negotiable. If you're going to be taking these advanced classes, you should be putting your all into it and doing as well as you can. But that's not to say it wasn't difficult. I mean, my dad's in there right now. You can talk to him about the late nights after long road trips for games, staying up till 3:34, trying to finish an essay for an AP class, and waking up the next morning, getting to the gym, getting shots up before school. But that's not special. I mean, I know students who in high school do that on a regular basis. I was fortunate enough to go to a high school that's very strong academically, and a lot of the students that I went to school with or did some amazing things in high school and worked just as hard as I did, whether it be athletics or not. And I think that's something else that I see as almost an issue with the community is we have a tendency to view athletics as almost lesser to any other form of involvement, especially for high schoolers. I know my parents fielded a plethora of questions from other parents from our community about, you know, how are you letting your son waste his time playing basketball when he could be taking an extra 2 AP classes, right? I know you agree with that.
Yeah.
But again, they saw not only what basketball was doing for me in terms of the people that I was able to meet, but more so than that, they saw the values that I learned, right? As I said, I was a captain for multiple years. I was fortunate enough to play for an amazing coach, Coach Jason Wallace. Taught me a lot about accountability, about leadership, about, you know, being punctual and being responsible when it comes to your commitments. And I can say quite frankly that a lot of those values that I learned would have not come without basketball being there with me. And I'm sure if I didn't play basketball, I would have found another way to develop those values, but I wouldn't trade that experience in for anything else.
Oh, absolutely. And like you're speaking to, you know, managing those many different factors too. And like, you know, if you're giving like young people that are looking up to you and kind of see the success you've accomplished, like already, just you're so young too. This man is 19, almost turning 20 on Friday. Like he's already accomplished so many things, in my eyes, at least looking up to him. If you were to give advice to like the younger kid looking up to you, like of how to manage such a busy load. Like how do you stay organized? Like how do you manage so many different things going on in your life at once?
Yeah. So just to preface, this is something that we spoke about with our kids today at the event that I hosted in San Jose. So for some background, I run a nonprofit called the Student Athlete Community Foundation. We had a wonderful event today at the San Jose Gurdwara in partnership with We Got Next, which is another phenomenal organization that works with kids. And we had the chance to talk to some of these kids about this exact question. How do you manage, juggling a bunch of responsibilities that you take upon yourself, whether it be school, basketball, other sports, jobs, extracurriculars, the list goes on. The first thing I told them is you have to understand that there are people in your life that genuinely care for your success, right? Now, I understand that not everyone is fortunate enough for that support to come from within the household, but I promise you, if you look around, you're going to find someone in your life that wants you to be successful, right? I personally was blessed enough to have that come from within the household, both my parents, my sister, but that's not to say I didn't have other amazing influences. I already mentioned some of the older guys, my coaches, my teachers in school, my mentors, my big brothers, so to speak. And the biggest thing when it comes to managing a large set of responsibilities is leaning on those people when you need help, right? So I'll admit it, when I was in high school and I had an extremely busy week, in and out of the house for workouts, you're slammed with AP assignments. Hey, Mom, listen, can you please take care of the laundry this week? I am struggling, sure. Right? And that's like, it's a small example. And, as a 17-year-old kid, you like to be doing your laundry on your own. And I promise you I did on most weeks, but just leaning on them for support for something that little, like just takes a little bit off your plate. But then going back to what I said about like older people in your lives, I got a text right now from one of my best friends, Owen Hoteling, literally top of my phone. I can't tell you how many times I leaned on that guy when things got tough. When I just knew that I had so much on my plate that I couldn't handle, giving one of these people such as Owen a call just soothed my nerves, and he really helped me like sort through all this stuff that I had going on. Just for some more background, like I think my sophomore year is probably the toughest in terms of mental. End of my freshman year, one of my close friends and AU teammates passed away in an accident at his high school. He rest in peace, Ben Curry, in a drowning accident at his high school. And then going into my sophomore year, taking on a heavier course load, starting on varsity, it was a lot. So definitely mental struggles at that moment in time. And at first I kind of went into my shell, like I got all this on my plate. I don't know what I'm going to do. Kind of retreating and trying to figure everything out for myself. And what I realized over the course of those couple months where things were really rough is I am incredibly grateful for the people I have around me, that I'm lucky to have around me. And it'd be a shame if I weren't able to take advantage of that and find a way to see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So people like Owen, people like Gokul, my big brother Dovi, who is at PhD at UNC, obviously my parents, like just giving them a call on a weekend, just to FaceTime and talking them through all the stuff I have for the week really soothed my nerves and kind of helped me de-stress. Especially, because most people, like you said earlier today, basketball is a way to de-stress. When I was in high school, especially playing at that level as a sophomore, it was not. It was an added stressor. So I needed to find another outlet, and that happened to be through people. And that's a common thread that I think we'll explore throughout the course of our conversation today is my purpose and what I find most beautiful in life is being able to bring people together and being around people and just learning from our shared experiences and our collective mindset and growing together. So when it comes to managing a bunch of responsibilities, I just really say lean on your people around you. And if you find that you can't lean on those people, I'm sorry, you need to find new people to hang around, right? Obviously, you can't change your family. You can't change your teachers or your coaches. But if you can't go to your friend and be like, hey, I'm struggling right now, I need someone to lean on, and they're not someone you can lean on, I promise you need to change who you're around. Because there are some really amazing people out there in the world, and it's on you to find them and make that connection.
Yeah, listen, like that support system, like those people that you surround yourself, like it says a lot about yourself. And just really, if your family's not necessarily something that you can lean on, I mean, there's friends, there's teachers, in this world that you'll find that people do want to help you. And if you don't have that, it can be as simple as, if you're listening to this podcast or you're listening to this show, you know, reach out. Like there's so many people out there in this world that do want to help and give back, that there is that opportunity out there. And another thing I did want to circle back to that Ani mentioned was, things will get hard. Like, things are going to get tough. You're going to hit adversity at any level, whether you're in school, not in school, just dealing with life, whether you're a student, not a student. Like, there's so many different aspects of life that you're going to get hit with. So there's going to be a point where you hit struggle, and you have to be able to lean on people. And if you don't have those people right now, just be aware of that and look for that. And if you don't have that, you're going to find it at some point, right?
Yeah. And if I may add, like, as he said, you're going to find that at some point. Trust that your work and what you're doing on an everyday basis is going to lead to good people being around you. But something I did want to add that does kind of help with managing a pretty hefty set of responsibilities is celebrate the little wins. I have a great example from just 5 minutes ago. This podcast was actually not going to happen today because Nanik forgot to bring a USB to USB-C adapter.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we were looking forward to this for about 2 weeks now, and we obviously have our nice microphones here, and unfortunately we're missing a cable that we needed to make this happen. And fortunately, in this time of quote unquote adversity, obviously not real adversity, but a little bump in the road, my father was able to step in, and he was able to find us a solution. And mind you, our garage door is open. I live on a street with a lot of older folks. When I got the wire that made our thing work, I heard Nanik let out a little scream and a little let's go of joy. And I'll tell you what, at first I was like, damn, bro, you're going to wake up everyone on the street. It's kind of late here. But when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Like, this is what we have to celebrate. When you go across your everyday life, you're going to come across these little bumps in the road that may not represent large amounts of adversity, but it's important that you acknowledge the little win that you just had so that you can get motivation to keep going through the rest of your day.
I love that you brought that up and shared that story, because I wanted to kind of get to it at some point too. Something so small, so to provide some even more background, we went to this event because we're about to dive in talking about his nonprofit that he started and his partnership with We Got Next. We're about to dive into that. But before we do that, we're recording this episode on February 11th. It's not going to be out until a couple of weeks, till whenever you're listening to this. So we've been in the car. We've been talking for the last 2 or 3 hours, driving from San Jose back. There's been crazy traffic. So we've just been talking about all kinds of things. So to get back, and almost like the show wasn't going to work, the mics wasn't set up, it was almost going to be over. So I'm so happy that we're here. We're going to be able to do it. Honestly, a perfect transition to kind of start giving you a space to kind of talk about why you started your nonprofit, your foundation, and then how you got involved with connecting with We Got Next and with that initiative.
Totally. And apologize for the phone here, but I'm actually handling some nonprofit business. Got to pay the videographer that came today. So give me 1 second.
You know, I mean, this is honestly even a behind the scenes look. It's like someone, he's literally 19 years old, and he's managing so many things that these kids that we just, you know what, I'm going to post some photos too, so you guys can see it. This event was amazing. It brought together 30 or 40 young Indian hoopers, young Asian hoopers, all in one space where they got to, see other people that have seen success. And, it was something that was so much work went in behind the scenes to make it all possible. And yeah, I would love for you to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll give you kind of like the full story behind the Student Athlete Community Foundation, which is my registered nonprofit. So I'm going to take you all the way back to the fall of 2020. So this is mid-COVID. We're all stuck at home. At this point in my life, I am about to enter my senior year. I'm the captain of the basketball team at Foothill. And just so happens that a close friend of mine, Jackson Cash, shout out Jax, is the captain of my rival high school, Amador Valley. And so we kind of built a relationship over our sophomore and junior years, having been attending rival high schools and also working together as youth referees. And something that we had always wanted to do was kind of leave our mark on the city that raised us and do something for younger athletes before we graduated. Originally, the thought was, let's do a kids camp. Let's do something like that, kind of like we did today. Unfortunately, COVID kind of made that impossible to host. So we kind of pivoted to other ideas that we could potentially do. What ended up sticking was a gear drive that we eventually named the New Year New Gear Drive. The notion behind the event was Pleasanton, my hometown, is a relatively affluent area. You have lots and lots of families with kids around my age that played almost every sport in the book growing up. And the logic for us was, hey, I'm sure these families all have old sports equipment in good condition laying around in their garage, just as I have old golf clubs right behind me. Why don't we set up an infrastructure to collect donations of new and slightly used athletic gear and donate them to kids who may not be as privileged as us when it comes to exploring their athletic journeys. So this all started coming together October, November of 2020. Just for some context, that first year when I planned this was when I was applying for colleges, and as I started planning the event and the word started spreading that this was going to be happening, I heard a lot of chitter chatter that I was doing this just for my college applications, which I can promise you I did not, because none of my applications had anything to do with my nonprofit or the gear drive. The nonprofit didn't come until last year. I'll get there. But yeah, so January of 2021, we hosted this event at Foothill and Amador. Collected, I'd say, over 1,500 donations across both schools. Worked with an amazing organization, Eat Sports Foundation. Eat stands for Educate, Aspire, and Triumph, led by legendary Bay Area basketball trainer Tion Connor. And essentially the framework that we set up is we collected the gear, sanitized it, sorted it into categories, handed it off to his organization, and then he donated it to families in need on a case-by-case basis. And it was a big success. I really enjoyed working with my fellow teammates and friends to make this initiative happen in the midst of a spike in COVID, which was January of 2021, obviously. Obviously all masked, all social distancing, all everything. And, we were able to do something pretty solid for the community, which felt great. And at the time, I thought this was going to be a one-time thing. Over the course of those 4 months leading up to that event, I had the opportunity to do as much marketing as I could. Our council member of Pleasanton, Valerie Arkin, I was able to speak with her and make it to a city council meeting on Zoom and speak about the event and try to invite people to that. Lots of emails to big figures in the community, Mr. Gersich, who runs CYO, especially the CYU Youth Sports, Greg Thome, a good friend of mine that I actually saw last week in Davis, coincidentally, who is a Pleasanton legend for sure when it comes to youth sports. Another person I really want to highlight is Mr. Dennis Miller, who writes the Pleasanton Weekly columns for sports. Actually, the announcer at my high school games when I played in high school, did us a great favor of spreading our event online. And that experience really helped me grow as a person because I saw everything come together. It was the first time that Jackson and I had something that we could call our own that really came to fruition. Again, I thought it was going to be a one-time thing. 4 months later, one of my little bros, Raman, who's now thriving at Cal Poly, reached out to me and he said something along the lines of, hey, like, being at your event really inspired me. I want to do something similar. And so I literally sent him our entire Google Drive of documents and email templates and spreadsheets. And he put together a powerlifting event that raised money for Hamilton Families, which is a phenomenal organization out of San Francisco that deals with the unhoused population. He raised a couple $1,000s for them. And that's when the spark kind of hit my head, because originally I viewed the gear drive as a way for us to give back to the community. What I didn't realize until that moment was initiatives such as the Gear Drive could be used to get younger student athletes that I'm connected with involved in such ways with their community, such that they grow as individuals and as young men and women, right? So watching him go through that process and run that event and seeing how much he grew over the next year, having been through that experience, was, I don't want to say life-changing, but honestly life-changing for how I viewed the scope of that initiative. So came back in January of 2022, expanded to 5 schools here in the Bay Area. Really blew up that year. I think we had over 3,500 donations. And it was just, again, it was great to see, come back from Davis being a college student and see all these high school guys come together for this event. And that's when it really hit my mind that I wanted to make this a nonprofit and something more important and something that I could really grow with. And so in August of 2022, I registered the Student Athlete Community Foundation, worked with a good friend of mine, Fiona, who's at Brown. She did all the design stuff and came up with an amazing logo. Another one of my best friends who I'm seeing tomorrow, Neil, he helped me with a lot of web dev and also a lot of input on design. And we kind of made it happen. I dropped $1,500 on LegalZoom, got it registered. My pockets are still hurting from that. And it's official now. And I came back this year again in January, hosted my 3rd Gear Drive, with first one officially under the SACF banner. And then obviously this event, which I want to go into now a little bit.
For sure.
We Got Next, as I've said, is an amazing organization that does a lot of youth basketball camps, clothing, and youth outreach stuff. I actually got connected with them because my housemate Vikram is very connected with them. He's been a part of We Got Next since the beginning. He introduced me to Harp, who is his older brother figure and the founder of We Got Next, and I have a great deal of admiration and respect for the passion and commitment he shows to his kids that come to his camp every week, and how he trains them to not only be better basketball players but better young adults, which is something I'm definitely trying to incorporate with my organization. And so I've had the idea of collaborating with them for a while now, and I'm just really glad we were able to come together and host this event, which we called the Athletes Unite Gear Drive and Free Camp. So we had, as Nanik mentioned, about 40 kids come out. We had a little panel with all of us, talk to them about some of the things we're talking about right now, how to be successful at whatever you want to do. And then we ran fives.
It was great.
Ran fives with little kids. I'm washed up. I will say I missed my fair share of dunks today. My back still hurts. But Nanik looked good out there. He got his run in, got coast to coast action going. His finishing looked good. Jumper needs some work.
I was 1 for 8 from the field. For those of you that know me, I am a pure shooter. So that was it was not normal for me.
Yeah.
So
I will say I am almost exclusively a mid-range shooter. And I don't think I made one. I probably went like 1 for 13. It was windy outside.
the basketballs were wet because it was raining.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of variables.
Outside. But I don't want to make any excuses. I will say that me personally, I have not touched a basketball in a while, so I am a little washed. But jokes aside, it was a phenomenal day. Not only because we got to work with all these amazing kids, but we got to come closer.
It really was.
Obviously, spent a lot of time with Nanik in the car on the way there and back and at the event. But Pranav was there. Pranav of Amazing HQ. Got to spend some time with him. Obviously, Vikram and Harp, and then a good friend of mine, Prabjot, goes by PJ, friend of mine at Davis, very good dude. One of my favorite people that I've met in the past year. And he also made the drive out from Salinas, which is super deep. And it just goes to show, real people stay real. And he came out and supported today, and I really appreciate him for that.
So one thing I've been amazed by what Ani can do is he has this ability of not only just doing this out of pure passion and for helping others, but also his ability of bringing people together from all over and just utilizing his connections. And this is something that we discussed extensively on our 2-hour drive from San Jose to Pleasanton, which should have been 35, 40 minutes. But we discussed about how taking advantage of connections, utilizing connections, and going back to what we discussed at length was leaning on people, right? So, and also another side note, Ani was not doing this for any applications. He's still doing it today. It's a nonprofit. He's not much is really going into his pockets here. He's doing it out of pure love of giving back and doing things for other people. And that's one thing is what I really admire about him is that he's doing this selflessly to help others and to bring people together. And I did want to say that Ani is going to be a reoccurring guest on the show. He's at UC Davis. I live in Sacramento. So he's going to be someone that comes on the show more frequently. He's going to, in a way, almost like, I don't want to say full like co-host, but he's going to be like here with us more than other guests that we just see one time. And he's going to be, around someone that I really look up to, and we're going to be collaborating on some other things and other projects. So, truthfully, me and Ani can talk for hours as we have shown ourselves today. So I did want to kind of wrap us up a little bit here. So I wanted to ask you a couple of quick hitters, and I want you to say the very first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right?
I'm not good with these, by the way.
It's all good. If you have to take a second, no worries.
Yeah.
But favorite TV series?
Seinfeld.
Okay, there we go. That's perfect. All right. Second one, favorite NBA player?
Kobe.
And one word to describe yourself?
Passionate. Compassionate.
That absolutely.
Passionate.
Ani, I want one more time to thank you so much for sitting down with me and making the time. He has a super busy schedule. He's putting his, family aside for me right now, making an extra 40 minutes for me. So I did want to say I really appreciate that so much. And if you have anything to close out, I'd love to give you one last space if you want to say some last words.
Yeah. So there is kind of one thing I want to leave you guys with today. And as Nanik said, I'll be back pretty frequently just because he's only 20 minutes from me when he's back home. So you'll be hearing from me a lot. So if you don't like my voice, you probably should unsubscribe. But my mom's on a business trip right now, so she's overseas. But every morning I try to call her for at least 5 minutes to check in. But Friday morning I had a 25-minute call with her, just talking about how life's been going for the both of us. And she said something that really resonated with me that I wanted to share with you guys. That just speaks to some of the things we covered today. Not to toot my own horn, but there is a lot of things that I do that we didn't get into today, and we'll save that for another time.
100%.
But she essentially told me that amazing things happen when you put your best effort into something for other people and don't expect anything good in return. Right? So when it comes to things like the nonprofit or working with other organizations, obviously we didn't get into any of the AI stuff that I'm doing, but doing all that stuff for fellow students at Davis and San Diego and other schools, other organizations I'm a part of, like, I'm doing that because I genuinely enjoy it, and more so than that, I enjoy being around the people that I get to be with when I do those things, right? So, like, obviously doing Amazing, I got to meet you, and I thoroughly enjoy spending time around you. Love spending time with Pranav. We got next, trying to do more stuff with them. I love being with Vikram and Harp. The list goes on and on. But fundamentally speaking, if you do good things for the right reasons, I promise you that good things will come to you in return. Obviously, being raised Hindu, like, karma is something that I internally believe in. And whether you believe in that specific notion is up to you and your beliefs. But I will say, trust the good work that you do, and have faith in the fact that everything good that you do, if done with the right intentions, will come back and serve you better for the future. So again, Nanik, thank you for having me today. We got to get him to the BART station because he's got a little trip out to Fruitvale right now. So I look forward to being on again and discussing some cool shit in the future.
Very well put. I would, again, just want to emphasize for anybody listening, if you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, text the @TrueToLife podcast on Instagram directly, or even me directly on Instagram @Nanik Tagore. Really, any questions that you had, like, from the show, even if you want to just let me know. If you have questions for Ani, everything that he's a part of is all going to be in the description if you want to check that out. Everything about Amazing HQ, I'm going to put all those links in the description so you can check those out as well. And again, I thoroughly believe that there's never a dumb question, no matter what, because if you're thinking it, possibly someone else is too. So anything, it can be basketball, life, advice, anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to the account or me directly. And once again, please follow the show, subscribe, engage. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. And we'll be talking soon.
Definitely. Appreciate you guys. Hey, we got a special one here. Get on the train early because it's about to leave the station.
Appreciate it. Literally, I am headed to the BART right now. Thank you so much, guys,
Yeah.
and I will catch you on the next one.
Appreciate you guys.